Welcome to lesson 2 of my Python series, Conditionals. A condition is a statement that produces a Boolean value, which is true or false, when evaluated. Conditionals are used to make decisions based on these conditions. So as you can see below, in the green, is the condition to be evaluated, and if that returns true, then the code under that, in the blue indented, will run. Comparative operators are used to make conditions. So there's the greater than sign, less than, equal to, not equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and these will all produce a Boolean when used to compare two values. So to try out conditionals, let's write a program that accepts a number as input and prints positive if it is positive. So we have to get a number input, so we'll convert that to an int with the int function. And then we have to check if it's positive using an if statement. So we'll just say if num is greater than 0, and then colon, and then indented here, you'll see that it automatically indents for you. Just print positive. So let's run this and try putting a positive number. We get that it prints positive. What if we try to do 0? We get nothing. Or if we do a negative number, we also get nothing, because this conditional returned false. So nothing under here happened. If we want to perform an action, if a condition results in false, then we can use an else statement. So this essentially says that if the previous condition was false, then do this instead. Let's try out else statements by writing a program that accepts a non-zero number as input and prints whether it is positive or negative. So we'll just modify this code from before and use an else statement to print negative. So else, print that as negative. And this is a non-zero number. So let's put in a positive number again. We still get positive. But if we put in a negative number, instead of getting nothing, we get negative. Exercise 3. Write a program that accepts the length and width of a rectangle as input, prints whether or not it is also a square, and prints the area. So we'll get an input for the length and width, and convert it to integer. Now in order to check whether it's a square, we'll just check if the two values are equal. So if length equals width, we'll print that this is a square. And then we're also just going to print the area, so we'll print length times width. So I'll put two different values first, and as you can see, we just get the area. So note that this code still occurs because it's not indented. So only this indented code under the if statement is what is under the conditional. But this will still run. So we only get the area. If we try to put two equal values, then first it'll print that this is a square because this is true, and then it prints the area after. Write a program that accepts a password and prints whether or not the user inputted the correct password. So first I'll just make a variable for the correct password, and I'll make it a string. So let's just say hello123. Now we're going to get input, so guess equals input password. And we have to check if these are equivalent to see if they're correct. So we can also compare strings with the equal operator. So if guess equals correct password, we'll print that is correct. And then else, we'll just print that is incorrect. So if we run this and put in a different password, we get that is incorrect. But if I put the password, we get that is correct. The modulo operator is another arithmetic operator which is used to get the remainder of a division. So for example, if we did 4 mod 2, that would return 0 because 2 goes into 4. If we did 5 mod 2, we would get 1 because that's the remainder, and this is used to check if numbers are even or odd. So we'll just get a number input, and we'll just check if it's a multiple of 3 with the module operator. So if num mod 3 equals 0, we'll print, and I'll just do an f string, num is a multiple of 3. And then else, we'll just print num is not a multiple of 3. So if we run this, if I put a number that isn't a multiple of 3, we get that it's not. If I put one that is, then we get that it is. Now a more useful application, write a program that accepts a number's input and prints whether it's even or odd. So we'll get a num input again. And instead we'll just check if it's a multiple of 2. So if num mod 2 equals 0, print num is even. And then else, we'll just print num is odd. So from this, I'll input an odd number first, we get that it's odd. I'll input an even number, we get that it's even. If we want to use multiple if statements, we can use elif statements, which is short for else if. And we can use as many of these as we want. The program will go through each condition from top to bottom until either one of them results in true or until it reaches the end. So this is essentially saying if the previous conditions were false, then try this condition. Here's just a diagram representing this. Exercise 7. Write a program that accepts a number as input and displays whether it's positive, negative, or 0. So we can just modify this code from before when we were checking if a non-zero number was positive or negative, and just put an else if statement inside of here. So else if num is equal to 0, then we'll print 0. And then else it's just going to print negative, like before. So we're just putting in a new conditional here. Now if I put 0, we get 0. If I put a negative number, we still get a negative number. Logical operators are used to combine conditions. And means that both conditions must be true for the full condition to result in true. And or means that either condition may be true for the full condition to result in true. So only one of them needs to be true. A school has the following grading system. Write a program that accepts a number grade as input and displays its corresponding letter grade. And it has to display invalid if it's not between 0 and 100. So first we'll just make a grade input. So number grade equals, and we have to convert it to integer, input number grade. And now we just need a bunch of if statements. So if number grade is greater than or equal to 90 and number grade is less than or equal to 100, then we'll print A. So I went ahead and did the other letters, but now we have to check if it's invalid by just using the else statement because all of these if statements cover between 0 and 100. So if it's not between that, then we'll just say else, print invalid grade. So if you run this, I'll just put in a B, so we get B. I'll do an F, which is less than this is less than 60. We get F. But if we do a number that isn't within the range, so like 105, we get invalid. Or if I do a negative number, since that's less than 0, we get invalid grade. Write a program that accepts two different numbers as input and displays whether both, one, or neither are even. So let's get two numbers. So num1 equals input first number, and I'll get a second number, num2 input second number. First we'll check if both of them are even. So if num1 mod 2 is equal to 0 and num2 mod 2 is equal to 0, then we'll print both are even. Then we'll check if one of them is even by using or. Note that this will be checked after this, so it will mean that only one of them is even if it returns true. So else if num1 mod 2 equals 0 or num2 mod 2 equals 0, print 1 is even. And then else, we'll just print neither is even. So let's run this. Let's just put two even numbers. We get both are even. Output one even, one odd. We get one is even. And if I put two odd, we get neither is even. Write a program that accepts three different numbers as input and prints which one is the largest. So we'll just get three number inputs here, and we have to use conditionals again. So first we'll check if num1 is greater than num2, and num1 is greater than num3. Then we'll print that num1, I'll use an F string, is the largest. Else if num2 is greater than num1 and num2 is greater than num3, we'll print num2 is the largest. And then else, and this is assuming that all the numbers are different, so we can use an else. Else, we'll just print num3 is the largest. So if we run this, let's just say we make the third number the largest, we get 3 is the largest. Now let's make the first number the largest. We get that 10 is the largest. Write a program that accepts a year's input and prints whether it is a leap year or not. Note that to be a leap year, the year number must be divisible by 4, except for end of century years, which must be divisible by 400. So if it's a century year that isn't divisible by 400, then it's not a leap year. So first we need a year input, so let's say year equals and convert to integer. First, we'll just check if it's divisible by 400 because that means it's guaranteed to be a leap year. So if year mod 400 equals 0, then we'll print year is a leap year. Then we'll check if it's both divisible by 4 and not a century year. So if year mod 4 equals 0 and year mod 100 is not equal to 0, then we'll print year is a leap year. And then else, that just means it's not a leap year. It's not a leap year. So we'll input a year. Let's just say we put in 1600, so that is a leap year. But if we put a century year that isn't divisible by 400, we get that it's not a leap year. If we just put a normal year that's divisible by 4, we get that it is a leap year. And if it's none of the above, then we get that it's not a leap year. That concludes this lesson. I will leave all the solutions in the description.